What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you a profile update for Lightsworns. Now Lightsworns are a really fun and very kind of interesting deck. So the main function of Lightsworns is they want to mill cards from the deck to the graveyard, and then different cards, depending on how they've been milled or just when they hit the graveyard, will produce different effects, which is really kind of cool. So when a deck has that particular ability, that's when you're going to start looking at different hybrids for other cards that want to achieve that kind of out goal. They want to be in the graveyard. So you've got stuff like Telements. Other ways to help you increase your mill count, you have the Horus package. You could also, because of a more recent addition to the deck being Weiss, as it is a light fiend, can also bridge you into the Fiendsmith package. I've decided to not go for any of those options right now. For this particular build, I decided to go for my preferred play of doing it, and that is with Chaos cards and Bystial cards. The one thing that I like about the Bystials is it gives you that hand trap element. Because Lightsworns want to mill, you don't really want to be clogging your deck down with hand traps. You want to be able to go first, you want to be able to go very combo heavy, and that's where the Bystials can really come into play, because the Bystials can help you extend your plays, but can also help you disrupt your opponent's play. So it gives you the benefits of both, so that if you do end up going second, you still have cards that you'll want to utilize in order to benefit from your cards being sent to the graveyard and so forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the entire profile, show you exactly what we've got, and explain why we've got it. In theory, you could adapt this to Genesis if you wanted to, but it's a little bit more tricky because Draglin is a 10-point cost, and then Charge the Light Brigade is a 33-point cost, and that's before you even start to consider the Bystials. So honestly, this is probably going to be more directed for Modern, but just as a heads up, if you wanted to adapt it to Genesis, you could do. It just requires you to make a lot more sacrifices. So starting off with 3 of the Lightsworn Draglin. So this is one of the more recent ones that we received in Legacy of Destruction. This with Weiss, the Minerva Synchro Monster, and the Trap card are really cool additions to the deck. And we also got a Judgment Dragon Fusion Monster, but we're not going to be playing that one. So Draglin has the ability that if you have a Lightsworn monster in your grave, you get to special on this card from the hand. And if it is special summoned, you get to send a Lightsworn card from the deck to the grave except itself. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a dragon monster with 3000 attack and 2600 defense from the deck to your hand. Only use each effect once per turn. The idea is that this being able to send a Lightsworn monster directly from the deck to the grave can straight away send Felice. Felice can summon itself back, or Wolf, and Wolf will summon itself back as well. Then going for Weiss. Weiss is my personal favourite because this is like the Dark World bridge between the two. So if you actually look closely, this is definitely like a Dark World monster, which is why it's the Fiend monster. And it's kind of like, I believe it to be Snow, but it could be someone completely different. But I'm pretty sure this is the Lightsworn version of Snow, which is awesome. You get to place one other Lightsworn card from your hand on top of the deck to then special on this card from the hand, and then you send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. If this card is sent from the deck to the grave, you target a Lightsworn in your graveyard, except itself, and special summon it. So the fact that this is the tuner means that straight away it can set itself up for being a synchro play, because what you want to be doing is you want to be putting Felice from the hand back to the top of the deck, or you want to be putting your Wolf back to the top of the deck, and then you mill it, and then when you're milling it, that's when you're going to get the most advantage from it, because you mill it, and then that in summons itself back out, and straight away you've been able to special summon down Weiss. You haven't Weiss. I keep calling it Weiss because I always think of it as Weiss from Dragon Ball, because it's got the staff, it kind of just looks like that, so apologies, I might end up saying that a couple of times in this video, but yeah, we go with Weiss on that one. Then carrying on, for like your normal summon of your Lightsworns, you've got your Raiden. So the reason that this is your ideal normal summon is that during the main phase, you send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave, and any Lightsworn monster sent, this card gains 200 attack until the end turn, and then once per turn during your end phase, you send the top 2 cards of your deck. Now, it's a little bit more of an old school Lightsworn card, and what I mean by that is it's not going to be as fast, and unless you can guarantee what you've just put back to the top of the deck, quite like Weiss, you're not going to be able to get the most influential outcome. But it's still an incredibly good option and a level 4 tuner, but you will use this as like your last resort. Like the normal summon of Lightsworns is not going to be as effective as it once was. You're going to be relying on your Weiss and your Draglin. Then we're playing 3 Wolf Lightsworn Beast, backed up by 3 Felice Lightsworn Archer. Now, both of these are technically the ways of being sent from deck to grave. Now, Felice very specifically needs to be sent via a monster effect to summon itself back from the graveyard, whereas Wolf doesn't care. So you activate Foolish Burial, it will summon itself back to the from the graveyard back to the field. The other benefit is that Felice is a tuner, and on top of that, it actually has a really cool effect. So on top of being able to be sent to the graveyard via monster effect and summon itself back, you can also get the ability to tribute this card to then target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it, and then you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So in the example that I started with the Weiss, if you summon the Weiss and then bring out the Archer, and you're like, right, cool, get rid of Felice, tribute off, because I've got another way to get another monster to the field, you then get to mill 3 more cards, and if you hit a beast, great, and you've already popped one of your opponent's cards, or you threatened one of your opponent's cards. So it does give you a nice little way to kind of push through a little bit. Then for another really kind of cool normal summon of your deck is Lumina. So this one lets you discard a card to then target level 4 or lower Lightsworn in the grave and special summon it. The benefit of that one is as long as you have a Lightsworn target in your graveyard, you could, for example, discard your Raiden. Raiden can then be revived. As long as you have a target in the graveyard, it's absolutely fine to do that because you discard and then target. So it's not all in, it's not like discard as cost and then target. So it's a really kind of cool option. On top of that as well, during the end phase, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. Now, Lightsworn in Modern is not as slow as it used to be with Lumina and Raiden, like wanting to get to the end phase, milling more cards, triggering more effects and moving on from there. You're a little bit more aggressive and combo heavy, which is why you kind of play the ratios more so with the Felice and Wolf rather than the Raiden and the Lumina. The final card that kind of completes the Lightsworns themselves is the Judgment Dragon. So Judgment Dragon cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned by having 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in the grave. You pay 1,000 life points to destroy all other cards on the field, and then during each of your end phases, you send top 4 cards to the deck from the deck to the graveyard. So this is kind of like your game ender. The idea is because you're playing Chaos cards, you special on this card down, use its effect, clear the entire field off, put it back to reset 0, and then you start summoning out your Chaos cards, your Bystials, and then you've already got 3k on the field, and you're just pushing for the rest to end the duel at that point. Moving on to the spells, we've got 3 Charge Your Light Brigades. You send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard to then add a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from the deck to the hand. So this just increases your consistency to get to Lumina if you want it, Raiden if you want it, Weiss if you want it, Dragon if you want it. But the idea is you get to mill the cards. You're like, okay, cool, I've milled that, and that. Okay, they're pretty cool. And then move on and search out the particular card you want. The other 2 that isn't, sadly these are not Lightsworn cards, even though they have Lightsworn in their text, they're not Lightsworn by name. Solar Recharge, discard a Lightsworn monster, draw 2 cards, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Now, I don't know about you, but if you've played Lightsworns before, I almost guarantee that the way that Solar Recharge will work is you will draw the 2 cards you want to mill, and you'll mill the 2 cards you want to draw. It's just kind of the way the game works with Lightsworns, but that just gives you your draw power as well as mill power on top of it. The final Lightsworn card we play is the 1 Lightsworn Argus. So you target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Lightsworn monsters you control, negate their effects until the end of the turn. And if it's sent from the deck to the grave, you get to set it. So that's kind of why we play this card. I really like it. I wish it had a foil upgrade. I think that'd be kind of cool, but I just quite like it as an option. You can cut it out completely if you want to. That is entirely down to personal preference. Moving on to the Chaos cards. So for the Chaos cards, we've got 2 Black Dragon Collapse and 2 White Wyvern. The idea behind this is as long as you can get a light or a dark in the graveyard with the corresponding monster that you need, you then banish the other, and then what you do is you would link off your White Dragon Wyvern Buster or Black Collapse. That would then search you out the other copy while having a light, like a dark or a light guaranteed in the grave, and that just pushes you into a link 2. So that can be Hieratic Seals. It also just sets up the graveyard to extend your plays a little bit further forward. If you can get 2 level 4s on the field, then straight away you can go into a Minerva rank 4 and then mill more cards. It's just a really kind of nice option for you. For your aggressive Chaos monsters that I've decided to go for is the Chaos Creator and the Dragon Levianeer. The idea is your Levianeer is your Disruptor. It is the one, if you go first, you can take a card from your opponent's hand. You can destroy cards, but remember it cannot attack when it uses that effect. And you've got Chaos Creator that banishes 3 and then brings 1 back to the from the banished zone. You target 3 of your banished with different names, special on one of them, place the rest on the bottom of the deck. So it just lets you regain your resources. Being level 8 sometimes can come up, more so in the Horus package, because then the Horus package can then help you extend to your rank 8s a little bit more. But the idea is that you've just got an aggressive option. So going first, extend your plays. Going first, disrupt your opponent's hand if you have the right attributes in the graveyard. And then you can utilize them as link fodder, rank fodder, whatever you need to. The final card that we play is the 1 Chaos Space. The added benefit of this one is you send a light or dark monster from the hand to the grave to then add a light or dark or like the corresponding attribute of what you've sent. So what that means is, if I'm sending my light monsters, being my Lightsworns, I can then search out, you know, Black Collapse, Chaos, Chaos Creator, Chaos Dragon Levianeer, and if I send a dark, I can actually search out Lubellion or Lightsworn Dragon. So you've got 2 different ways to get to your bridge engines if you really want to. Another way to kind of help you out a bit more, just your generic support cards, is Foolish Burial. So send Wolf, get you an extension. You can also send Trick Clown, pay 1,000 life points, get you an extension. We've got Reinforcement of the Armies that can also be utilised to deck thin and then get you into ideally going to be Raiden, because like I've said, that is your really only normal summon. Like, you don't want to normal summon any of your other Lightsworn monsters that are applicable apart from Lumina, and then Raiden is like your go-to one. For the Bystials, we're only playing a very small Bystial package, but you adapt this to your environment and your preference and kind of everything else in between. So we've got Lubellion, Baldrake, Magnamut, Druid Swarm, and then the one Regained. You can play Saronir if you wanted to. That is entirely up to you. It gives you a bit more Bystial presence. I'm just not leaning 100% into this because I am playing the Chaos cards. But this is what I said, is you can boost up your Chaos card involvement. You can play like Chaos Valkyrie. You can play what's the Black Luster Dragon? You can play Chaos Emperor Dragon. There we go, the Pendulum one. So it's entirely up to you. The final card before I get to the hand traps I'm playing is the one Gravedigger's Trap Pile. Now this will make sense because we play Tratrix Rafflesia in the extra deck, but the idea is if you are really worried about Nibiru, you can make rank 4s quite early. You either go Minerva to extend your plays, but because we're playing Chaos cards anyway, you probably go into a Rafflesia, and that can come off the back of a Whis if you wanted to. So it depends on how precautious you want to play, and then you've got the ability to protect from a Nibiru. Straight away when you go into a Rafflesia, your opponent's going to be like, what? And then if they have Nibiru, they'll be like, ah, that makes sense. And then the final kind of generic cards we're playing is 3 Mulchumi Fuelos and 3 Forbidden Droplet, because going second, you kind of want the ways. Like I said, you don't want to clog the deck down with like 3 Imperms, 3 Ashes, 3 Drolls. You kind of want to save them for the side deck when you can kind of tailor the deck for going first or second against a specific matchup. So you're playing the best generic go second hand trap in Mulchumi Fuelos, in my opinion, and then you're also playing 3 Forbidden Droplet, which can be utilised going first or second, while also being able to send you cards from the hand to the grave. Not that you'll be able to trigger effects, but just being able to put your lights and darks in the graveyard can be quite useful for you if your opponent is trying to shut off your access, or you can't get the cards into the graveyard as early as you possibly want them to be. So that's it for the entire main deck. Now to move on to the extra deck. Now the extra is where the Lightsworns really do start to shine. So the reason that they start to get a little bit more influential from the extra deck is because that's what the cards you're going to have generic access to. So no matter what card you kind of open up with, as long as you have a level 4 tuner and a level 4 non-tuner, you can extend your plays. Or even just 2 non-tuners, you get to go into rank 4s. So you're going to be starting off with the Minerva, the Athenian Lightsworn. So Lightsworn monsters you control cannot be banished by card effects. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you get to send Lightsworn monsters with different names from the deck to the grave up to the number of Lightsworn monsters used as this card material. You can banish up to 4 Lightsworn monsters from the grave to send that many cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. So once you've already used the mill effects of certain cards, obviously keep in mind that Wolf is not a hard once per turn, it's as many times as you mill it, you then banish those cards you no longer need and then move on from there. I might as well go for the rank 4 because the rank 4 equivalent is Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn. This is just generic rank 4. You make it, detach material, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, and then you draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworn cards sent by this effect. And if this card is destroyed by battle, or if it is in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. Then you can destroy cards on the field up to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to graveyard by this effect. So it's a nice disruptor. It's not something you always have to go into, but it's just another one that gives you more mill effects, which is really useful. Continuing on with the other rank 4s, we've got the one Tratrix Rafflesia. Already kind of mentioned this, just the disruption or a protection against Nibiru. Baguska, this is just if you get hand trapped to death. So if you get like de-shifted, if you get drolled and you can't extend your plays, there are just different ways. You just end on a Baguska, that will then hold the turn until it comes back to you and then you push on from there. The final XEs we're playing is the one Typhoon, just for those particular scenarios where you could normal summon down a Lumina, for example, that will then mill cards during the end phase, but then just being able to go into a Typhoon, straight away trying to turn off the Murakumo kind of destruction effect, it can be quite useful for you, but you can adapt that to anything you see fit. For the Link monsters, you've got the one Striker Dragon, so you turn your Black Collapse or your White Wyvern into this to then get the second one, and then alternatively, what you go for, which I'm not currently playing, is usually you could go into the Hieratic Seals. I decided to go for an IP Masquerena. Now, not in that exact example, because IP needs you to use a non-Link monster, but what you're probably going into more times than not would be going into an SP Little Knight. There are ways where you will fill up your field with loads of different monsters that you then need to link off to clear some space off, and that's why IP is probably like the best generic option. The idea with the Striker Dragon is you go Black Collapse, special summon that down, turn that into Striker Dragon, get the White Wyvern, banish the Black Collapse, summon down the White Wyvern, put those 2 into SP Little Knight, banish, and then you've got another disruption of the SP. So you kind of adapt it to the scenario you're in, but you have complete flexibility over your Link monsters of choice. Then for your Link monsters of choice, I've got the one at Bower Q. It does require a Fiend monster, so you could play Nightmare Phoenix if you wanted to make it more consistent. Otherwise, you would just use your Weiss on this one. And it's just another nice way of being able to discard a card, disrupt a card, or being able to revive a particular card you might need in a grind state. And then the final Link monster we're playing is the one Saruja, the Skull Dread. So again, there are ways where you just end your field with loads of different monsters with different names. You can put them into a Skull Dread, draw fresh cards, summon another one, and then go again. For the Synchro monsters, apart from the ones I've shown you previously, I've gone with the one Cyframe Lord Omega, so being able to make this as generic level 8 Synchro, but then also being able to recycle some of your banished cards that could be useful for you, recycle some of the cards in the graveyard that you only have access to one copy of, and then also being able to disrupt your opponent's hand size. That's when you can utilize this with the Chaos Dragon Levianeer and take away 2 cards from your opponent's hand, making their ability to break your field a little less effective. Then for the level 10 Synchros, which is where we're leaning into it a little bit more because of the Bystials, we've got the one Bystial Dispatter. Then we've got the one Chaos Angel, the one Chengying. Pretty much these are all staple rank 10s, I would say, level 10s, I would say. So keeping in mind you can use lights and darks as tuners to make this one, but you also have Weiss, which is a normal tuner, so is Raiden, so is Felice. You've got very easy ways to get to this. Chengying, especially when you're playing the Bystials, you can control banishing from the graveyard, so then being able to like double banish is really important. And then the final card I thought I would try out in this deck, you don't have to play it, I just think it's kind of a nice funny option that not a lot of people even know exist, is the Time Lord Vorpgate. So I'll just shuffle these back over, there we go. So the Vorpgate is generic level 10, it can't be destroyed by Battle War card effect, you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card. At the end of the damage step, if this card was special summoned from the extra deck battled, you get to activate this effect. Banish all monsters your opponent controls. For the rest of the turn, half the battle damage your opponent takes, and then once per turn during the end phase, if this effect was activated this turn, you special summon as many monsters as possible that are banished with this card effect to your opponent's field. So it's just one of them ones that it can kind of be very awkward for your opponent to try and deal with, and you're constantly just keeping this on the field, just being able to then, like, for them to try and out this. It was just a funny option. I thought it could be quite good against like Mitsurugi's, trying to give it a modernized spin that not a lot of people would consider, but is entirely flexible. Change it to whatever you see fit. You can go for more level 8s if you want to. You could add in the Hieratic Seals, as I previously mentioned. Like, you do have a lot of flexible options on this one. So yeah, this is what I like about the deck, is that it does have a lot of flex to it. It's a really fun deck. It's like one of these ones that I keep coming back to. I would have loved the fact if this was a little bit more accessible in Genesis. Unfortunately, not the case right now. But for some people that are fans of Lightsworns, every now and then they do like to know, you know, how does Lightsworns look in a modernized game? This is because of the flexibility that it has that ability and possibility for flexibility, there we go, lots of abilities, to basically be able to be utilized with different engines. Like I've already mentioned at the start, you've got Horus, you've got Chaos, you've got Bystials, you've got Telements, even though Telements are like, what, 3 Rhino are, and then one of each of the other ones, like Shiren, Merly, and Havnis. But that kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility to play around as you need to. There was like, not a Burning Abyss element, but you can go for more rank 3 element, and that gets you into Levianeer, the Sky Dragon. It then gets you into Dante or the Burning Abyss. So there's a lot of flexibility you can play around with it. It just lets you be a little bit creative. So if you've already got a Lightsworn deck, or this was a deck that you always thought was a good option that you wanted to play and try out for a bit of fun, you know where to look, you know what to start with, and then adapt it and play it as you see fit. Anyway, that's it for the entire profile. Any questions at all, by all means, comments down below. I'm always happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.